Quit Laziness Now, the bone-chilling story of a boy who wasted his future forever. In a town that lay just outside the shadow of a massive mountain range, there was a boy named Timmy who seemed to drift through life like a ghost. His days ticked by in a haze of laziness and endless video games, and he couldn't see the danger looming like storm clouds overhead. But whispers drifted through the halls of his high school. They talked about Timmy in hushed tones, eyes wide, as if he were some cautionary tale come to life. Little did they know, something darker was brewing in the corners of his mind. The first sign of trouble arrived one rainy afternoon. Timmy sat alone in his dimly lit room, the flickering light of his screen illuminating his face like a sinister glow. Outside, raindrops tapped against the window, but in his world, there was nothing but silence, save for the insistent beeping of his game controller. As the clock struck midnight, the air felt heavy, thickening with an energy that was almost palpable. A guttural growl echoed from the depths of his closet, a sound that sent his heart racing. A chill slithered through him like icy fingers. Was it his imagination? Or was something trapped within those walls? Timmy's fascination with the supernatural had always flirted with danger. He had read all the urban legends of boys just like him who had fallen into traps of their own making. And yet, he brushed aside the lingering fear, convinced it could never happen to him, as if he were untouchable. But each night, he heard the whispers again, threatening promises that something would claim him if he didn't change. Then came the day it truly struck him. A school assembly, with students glued to their seats, shifting uneasily as a poster of Timmy flashed across the screen. "Who is this boy?" the principal asked, a note of concern bleeding into his voice. "He's missing, and if we don't find him soon, it might be too late." Gasps rippled through the crowd like a vibrating wire, and Timmy's heart thudded against his ribs. Would he be remembered? Or would he vanish into obscurity? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the buzz of conversation grew louder, Timmy felt the weight of 1,000 eyes upon him. Could they see the truth behind his lazy facade? The boy who had wasted his future, now teetering on the brink of despair. In that moment, he realized that whatever had been haunting him wasn't just a specter in the closet but an embodiment of his own choices. There was nobody else to blame. Was it too late to turn back? The question lingered like a knife, a specter just out of reach. Something was closing in, wrapping around his throat like a garrote. Timmy couldn't tell where his fear ended and the truth began. But there, in the silence of a packed auditorium, he felt a stirring in his heart. A flicker of hope amidst the chaos, or maybe it was just another ghost. What would it take to escape the darkness? And as he glanced back up at the screen, the faintest hint of a grim smile spread across the principal's face, leaving Timmy to wonder, was his fate sealed? Timmy's heart raced as he darted out of the auditorium, the echo of whispers following him like shadows. Each step felt heavier, cementing the weight of dread on his chest. The laughter and chatter of his classmates faded away as he stumbled into the dimly lit hallway. The walls seemed to close in on him, the flickering fluorescent lights overhead buzzing with a sinister hum. He pressed his back against the cool metal of a locker and squeezed his eyes shut, trying to block out the noise in his head. The growl from his closet echoed again, louder this time. It felt like the walls themselves were vibrating with the energy of his waking nightmare. Maybe it was all just a joke, a prank meant to humiliate him. But as he opened his eyes, he couldn't shake the fear that something truly awaited him at home, lurking in the shadows. He took a deep breath and turned on his heel, bolting for the exit. As the school doors swung open, the icy air smacked him in the face, a sharp reminder that reality was still out there, waiting for him. The streets were empty, the only sound was the rustling leaves. The rain had stopped, but an oppressive fog clung to the ground, swirling around his legs. Timmy hesitated, glancing over his shoulder. He felt as if he was being watched, the prickling sensation of eyes boring into his back pressed down on him. He moved quickly, the pavement slick beneath his shoes as he rushed towards home, each footfall echoing the frantic beats of his heart. He wanted to escape, to drown out the memories of those who had laughed at his expense. As he entered his house, the air was stale and heavy, a sense of dread washed over him. "Hey, Timmy. You're home early." His mom called from the kitchen, her voice cheerful but oblivious. He forced a smile and muttered a greeting, but inside, he was still reeling from the assembly. Did she not know? Did she not see the darkness creeping up around him? He trudged up the stairs, the old wood creaking beneath his weight. Arriving at his room, he paused before entering. Memories flashed through his mind of laughter, of carefree days spent gaming while time slipped through his fingers. But now, that same space felt foreign, suffocating. The growl was growing louder in his mind, the whispers intensifying until they became a cacophony. Without thinking, Timmy threw open the closet door. It was empty, but an odd chill rushed out at him as if he had cracked open a trapped window to a storm. He stepped inside, breathing in the musty scent of old clothes mingled with something sharper fear. He scanned the shadows that danced along the walls, but nothing lived there, or so he hoped. He stumbled backwards in a panic, and a small slip of paper fluttered to the ground. Timmy's breath caught in his throat. Written in a scrawled hand was a single sentence: "Beware the trap that awaits." The word sent a shiver down his spine. Had someone figured it out? Was he not the only one who had felt this darkness? What kind of trap was set for him, and why had he not seen it before? Just then, the lights began to flicker in his room. Shadows elongated and twisted at the corners of his vision, pulling him toward the closet. He clutched at his stomach, feeling a cold wave of nausea. He couldn't breathe. The whispers wrapped around him, urging him to retreat, to fight back, to run. As he stared wide-eyed into the closet, it happened. The darkness shifted. Timmy, the voice was low and twisted, clawing at the edges of his sanity, pulling him deeper. "It's time to wake up or be consumed." His body jerked back, and before he could control it, the door slammed shut, trapping him inside. Panic surged through him like a wildfire. Would he be trapped forever, just like the boys in the stories? And then, a faint light flickered behind him. What was it? Hope? Or just another illusion? As Timmy struggled for breath, he was left questioning everything. How far was he willing to go to break free of his own traps? But as the darkness closed in, he realized he might not have a choice. Timmy felt the cold metal of the closet door against his back as the world outside faded away. The whispers clawed at him, slithering into his ears with venomous intent. He squeezed his eyes shut, fighting the urge to scream. It felt like a nightmare come to life, a horror that even the bravest might shy away from. But there was that flickering light behind him, beckoning him. It was a small, innocuous glow, pulsing like a heartbeat. It didn't belong in the darkness, it seemed almost naive. He couldn't tell whether it was a beacon of hope or merely a trick of the mind, brought on by his own fear. Timmy, it was more insistent now, resonating deep within the shadows, wrapping around him like chains. "Come closer." As if compelled by an unseen force, he took a hesitant step towards the light. His heart pounded in his chest. The squeaking of the closet door echoed unnervingly in the suffocating silence. He reached out tentatively, fingers brushing against the unseen barrier that separated him from whatever lay beyond. "Don't let it take you." A sudden shout erupted from somewhere outside, a voice he recognized. It was Aaron, an old friend he'd lost touch with over the past months, their relationship fading like the light in his memories. Why was he here now? Timmy felt a jolt of hope surge through him. "Aaron! Help!" he shouted, voice trembling. "I'm stuck." The only reply was the sound of heavy breathing, as if Aaron was grappling with some unseen force of his own. "Get out of there. You don't know what's waiting for you in that darkness. Timmy's mind raced, the context of Aaron's words striking a chord deep in his core. In a strange twist, he suddenly remembered the tales of courage they had shared, the stories of heroes facing their fears. But this wasn't a story. This was his life. He had to make a choice. With a rush of adrenaline, he flung himself back against the door, feeling the pressure of the walls close in. I don't want to be consumed. I want to fight. The darkness seemed to recoil at his defiance, and for a fleeting moment, the whispering voices quieted. The glow intensified, revealing the outlines of shadowy figures slowly coalescing from the dark. Timmy felt his heart hammer in his chest, terror curling around him like smoke. They surged forward, reaching for him. Timmy! No! Aaron's shout pierced the stillness, propelling Timmy back from the abyss. He pressed against the now sturdy closet door, fighting against the urge to retreat. You can't let them win. Remember who you are. Don't waste it all. Those words ignited a fervor within him. Taking a deep, shuddering breath, he lunged toward the light. It surged forward, embracing him like a warm blanket, cutting through the cold shadows that threatened to swallow him whole. But the darkness was relentless. The figures shrieked, their hollow voices echoing in rage and hunger as they shifted like smoke. You can't escape. You belong to us. Timmy felt the light flicker, wavering like a candle caught in a gust. But he wouldn't let them take him. He could feel himself slipping, like sand through an hourglass. I refuse to be trapped. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted, illuminating everything: his room, the shadows, Aaron's worried face. Just as quickly it vanished, leaving him disoriented. He found himself face to face with the closet, now wide open, spilling light into the room. But then, he felt a tightening grip around his ankle. Cold tendrils of darkness shot out from beneath the bed, pulling him back. Laughter filled the room, haunting and cruel. Timmy's breath caught in his throat. Had he truly escaped? Had the light been real? Help me! He screamed, desperation rising within him as the shadows began their sinister dance once more. As the darkness pulled him closer to its terrifying embrace, Timmy realized he was more than just a boy facing his fears. He was standing at the precipice of a choice that could alter everything. And in that moment, a haunting truth loomed over him: sometimes, the darkest traps are the ones we create for ourselves. What would he decide? Would the light grow strong enough to break the grip of despair, or would he vanish into the void forever? Timmy's heart raced, each pulse echoing like a desperate drum in the oppressive silence. The shadows coiled around him, tugging at his sanity as laughter morphed into guttural growls. It was as though the very essence of fear manifested, swirling into a relentless tempest that threatened to consume him. Get away from me! He shouted, feet scrambling against the worn bedroom floor. He flung himself forward, determined to drag his ankle free from the icy clutches of the darkness. The room spun, objects tilted, and the distorted light shifted with his frantic movements. He couldn't let them pull him down. He wasn't just racing against the shadow, but also against himself. Then came a glimmer, a flash of courage buried deep within. I want to be your prisoner. He bellowed, grounding his voice with a sudden, fierce resolve. The grip around his ankle momentarily slackened, causing him to stumble forward. He seized that precious moment of freedom, hurtling himself toward the closet. Timmy! Aaron's voice erupted again, sharp and clear. Fight back. You have to believe. Timmy wanted to scream that he was trying, but the darkness hissed with displeasure, its whispers turning into a cacophony of angry wails. He pressed his palms against the closet door, chest heaving. The light, still flickering uncertainly, beckoned him with promises of safety. Each heartbeat separated him from the shadow's cruel hunger, yet he understood now how close he was to losing everything. He turned, facing that yawning void which had become so familiar and so terrifying. You think you can take me? I want to let you. With renewed determination, he summoned whatever strength he had left. He lunged deeper into the closet, pushing through the barrier of light that flickered like a firefly in the deepening darkness. Tremors raced through him as he reached for the heart of the glow, imagining it expanding, glowing brighter to blast the shadows away. Suddenly, the figures shrieked, a chorus of wretched cries that stung his ears. "You can't escape. We will always follow you. You are part of us." Timmy felt a shudder down his spine. Fragments of memories pierced his mind, the moments he let fear control him, the times he stepped back when he should have moved forward. Doubt, it was like a lingering whisper, curling around his thoughts. What if they were right? What if he could never really escape? No. He shouted, but the question lingered, gnawing at the edges of his resolve. With a fierce breath, he lashed out at the figures, the light bursting forth from his core like a supernova. "I am not you." A pulse of light erupted, shocking the darkness back. The laughter twisted into howls of fury as the shadows slithered away, retreating like mist blown by the wind. But just as he felt himself breaking free, the floor beneath him trembled, rumbling as if it were alive. Cracks sprawled across the ground, sunken spaces opening up. Panic surged within him. No. Not again. As the fissures deepened, shadows seeped from them, pooling ominously around him. Timmy realized it wasn't over. The shadows had merely retreated, waiting for their chance to strike again. "You think you're safe, Timmy?" The voices hissed, melding into a haunting melody that drummed in his head. "You can run, but you can never hide." He stumbled backward, his heart sinking as the taste of despair flooded his senses. What have I done? As the light began to flicker weaker, Timmy knew he was on a razor's edge. He needed to make one last choice, one that would change everything, but the tendrils of night inched closer again, and he realized he was standing at the brink of something monumental. Would he have the courage this time to face his inner darkness? As he steadied himself, the laughter slowly returned, echoing through the void with an unholy promise. "Join us, join us." What did that truly mean? Timmy's breaths came faster, each one a battle against the tightening noose of shadows that encroached upon him. The gleam of hope he had felt was flickering like the dying flame of a candle, and with every moment, the darkness surged forward, hungry. "What do you want from me?" he shouted, desperation cracking his voice. "You think you can just take me?" The walls of the room seemed to pulse, alive with dread. They taunted him, reflecting his fears back at him, the dull ache of every missed opportunity, every moment of hesitation. They whispered secrets of darkness, painting images of regret that clenched at his chest like iron shackles. "You belong to us," they hissed in a chorus, low and serpentine. "You can't escape the nightmares you've created." Timmy felt the ground sway beneath him, dread echoing within his chest. Memories flashed, days spent in half-hearted attempts, ambitions pushed aside for another round of video games or mindless scrolling. The shadows became tangible, threading through his thoughts like icy fingers, pulling at his resolve. But just as despair threatened to pull him under, Aaron's voice pierced through the din. "Timmy. Remember who you are. You're stronger than this." The reminder lit a flicker of defiance within him. He took a step forward, heart hammering with determination. "No. I want to let you define me." He slammed his fists against the walls of the closet, the wood splintering under the force of his will. Light flared once more, pushing back the shadows with its incandescent glow. It washed over him, filling every crevice of fear with a renewed sense of courage. Yes, he could fight. He wanted to fight. "You don't own me," he shouted, but even as he asserted his identity, doubt gnawed at his edges, gnarly and insistent. The laughter rang hollow, a chilling symphony. "But you allow us to thrive, Timmy. Each moment of weakness, each failure, feeds us." He felt the tremor of truth beneath their words and braced himself, muscles tightening. No. He was going down that rabbit hole again. With a primal scream that echoed into the suffocating darkness, he thrust both hands forward, unearthing the glimmering strength within. Brilliant light erupted from his fingertips, engulfing the shadows in a torrent of brilliance so fierce that the air crackled with energy. The night shrieked, squirming away from the intensity, retreating as it struggled to avoid the onslaught, but Timmy knew this was no final victory, the shadows were too cunning for that. As their cries faded, he felt a new weight settle upon him, an unbearable pressure that tugged at his very essence. Suddenly, a deafening roar reverberated through the room. The floor quaked violently as the fissures expanded, and timbers splintered. His heart raced. What now? From the depths of the abyss, serpentine shadows twisted, forming monstrous shapes, the embodiments of his failures and fears, all reaching out to claim him. In their eyes, he saw disdain, mirrored echoes of the lazy days he had surrendered without a fight. Join us, Timmy, they coiled like smoke, enchanting and sinister. Embrace your regret. Timmy felt the ground beneath him swallow his pulse, but he refused. He wasn't going to be that boy anymore. He was ready to ignite change, but at what cost? As the shadows writhed, a chilling realization swept over him. To face them was to confront not just his fears, but the resolution he had avoided for so long. Enough! He screamed into the enshrouded space, preparing for the battle within. I won't hide anymore. As his voice reverberated off the walls, he felt the very fabric of his resolve snap. Would he rise or would he fall? The shadows snapped closer, cloaked in darkness and bitterness, ready to engulf him once more. The moment was upon him, and in it lay the choice that would determine everything. Could he summon the bravery to rewrite his story? Would he embrace the light, or surrender to the endless night? As Timmy prepared to leap into the fray, he understood that the time for running was over. The real test had just begun. Timmy's heart pounded in his chest as he stared down the creatures that bore his regrets. Their bodies twisted and writhed, a grotesque display of his own making. He could almost see the faces of his missed opportunities within their shadows smiling, casting disappointed glances as they hovered, hungry for his surrender. You think you can frighten me? He shouted, each word stronger than the last. You're just my own fears, and I refuse to let you control me. The shadows lurched forward, their forms swirling around him like a storm. You can't escape, they taunted, their voices harmonizing into a chilling melody. Every moment wasted, every choice you didn't make, it all leads to this. He staggered, feeling the icy tendrils wrap around his ankles. Panic clawed at him. Memories flooded his mind like a tidal wave every time he chose comfort over challenge, every opportunity he let slip away. But beneath the fear, a fire ignited. He was here now, ready to face the demons he had fed with his apathy. I am more than my failures. Timmy shouted, eyes gleaming with defiance. The light that had flickered within him began to swell, illuminating the darkness with gleaming rays of silver and gold. His hands crackled with a vibrant energy, pooling in a radiant orb. Look around you. He cried, casting the light forward. This isn't who I am. I see my future, and it's bright. I will not bow to shadows or let them chain me to the past. The shadows recoiled from the light, shrieking in pain. It felt good, powerful, as if each failure was being burned away in an inferno of illumination. But in the next breath, he heard the anguished cries mingle with something else, a low, menacing growl. A dark figure emerged from the depths, it towered over him, a chaotic swirl of darkness, its presence swallowing the light. Do you think this mere flicker can banish me? It sneered, a smirk curling on shadowy lips. I am your deepest regret, your ultimate fear. You cannot erase me. Timmy experienced a surge of panic. This was no ordinary shadow, this was the manifestation of everything he had ever avoided, everything he loathed about himself. Memories swirled chaotically in his mind, and for a moment, he hesitated. It felt easier to give in, to let himself be consumed. But then he remembered Aaron's voice, his lifeline. Get up, Timmy. You have more to live for. The flicker of light blazed inside him, urging him forward. Timmy held his ground, fists tightly clenched. You don't scare me anymore. He roared, pushing with every ounce of strength. The air trembled, vibrating with energy as the brilliant orb expanded, growing larger and brighter. The creature bellowed, its form disintegrating as the light rushed forward, pouring over the darkness like molten rock. Timmy felt each pulse, each flicker of energy, pushing him against an invisible barrier. He was glad, he was alive. "I choose action," he declared. "I choose courage." As the light enveloped the creature, it howled, twisting into thousands of tiny shadows that flitted amidst the darkness, but Timmy felt the chains of despair begin to break. He was transforming, rising above the remnants of his past, but just as victory seemed within reach, a crack echoed through the remnants of the closet. The walls pulsated dangerously, fissures snaking across the surface, hinting at a far greater force lurking beyond. Timmy's breath caught in his throat. "What now?" he whispered, a chill creeping down his spine. As a louder roar filled the air. The shadows weren't done yet. His heart raced as he realized one terrible truth: there was still a greater darkness waiting to be unveiled. What was coming next would test him like never before, and Timmy braced himself, ready or not. The shadows wove themselves into a thicker, darker mass, as if drawing strength from his lingering fears. Timmy's breath quickened, the air thickening around him. He could feel the solid wall of darkness growing ever nearer, pulsing like a heartbeat, mirroring his own frantic rhythm. "Get back!" he shouted, trying to summon the power within him, but doubt threatened to drain the light he had fought so hard to ignite. What if this was all a mistake? Was he really stronger than his regrets? Each passing moment felt like an eternity filled with icy fingers searching for weak points in his resolve, and then, there was a surge of emptiness. The very air around him seemed to draw back, leaving a void that echoed with chaos, mocking his determination. The rippling darkness started to shift and swirl, forming a new shape. Timmy squinted, heart racing, as the figure of a girl materialized within it. "Aaron?" he croaked, confusion flooding his mind. But as she stepped into focus, he realized that it was not his friend. It was a haunting image of a girl from his past, a girl he had liked but never dared to talk to, fears of rejection keeping him silent. "Timmy," she whispered, her voice soft yet heartrending. "You let me go. You let your chance slip away. And now, look where you are." "No. I chose courage." Timmy shot back, anger filling him. "You're just another shadow. You don't control me." Her expression twisted with sorrow, and in that moment, Timmy felt the pull of dread, that familiar weight of regret wrapping around him, heavy and suffocating. "You think this is about me?" she chided softly. "This is all about you. Look how far you've run from yourself." The creature behind her roared, as if confirming every malicious thought. The shadows writhed, more alive to Timmy's horror, more humorous, as if they'd been preparing a show all along. The realization sent a shockwave through him. He was trapped in a nightmare of his own making, created by every moment he had sidestepped, every chance he had frozen in fear. "Stop it. You're not real," he cried out, but his voice faltered. The girl smiled sadly, fading back into the shadowed figure, her features washing away like paint in water. Fueled by desperation, he squeezed his eyes shut, blocking her haunting expression from his mind. The glow inside him flickered dangerously. Was it enough? Through the darkness, a rumble surged, and the ground quaked beneath him. Cracks spiderwebbed the floor, revealing the gaping maw of a void reaching for him. Timmy stumbled back, sweat beading on his brow. "What is happening?" he gasped, the weight of despair clawing at him again. The shadows cackled, whispering secrets of futility and failure, each word a dagger to his hope. "Find your strength, Timmy." He remembered Aaron's words, but they felt distant now. He opened his eyes and faced the rising tide of encroaching blackness. "If I am more than my failures," he murmured, the words igniting a spark deep within him. "Then I will not let you win." Timmy raised both arms, summoning every ounce of light he could muster. Just as he was about to unleash that dazzling power, the darkness surged, rushing forward like a tidal wave, determined to consume him whole. He braced for impact, every muscle taut with fear and defiance. Would the light be enough? As the shadows enveloped him, Timmy felt the pull of his choices past, present, and all that lay ahead. The world around him began to spiral, colors merging into a swirling vortex. In that moment of bewildering chaos, a sudden shriek filled the air, a voice from somewhere deep within the darkness. It was familiar and strikingly cold. Do you really think you can defy me? Timmy's heart sank. He had no idea what lay on the other side of this encounter, but one thing was certain, he couldn't back away now. The question echoed in his mind, haunting and urgent. As he teetered on the brink, ready to confront the unimaginable, he whispered to the void, "I'm not afraid." And then, everything went black. What awaited him in that chilling darkness could either destroy him or reveal the truth he had long forgotten. Timmy felt himself falling, like he had been hurled into an endless pit of shadows. He could hear whispers pooling around him, taunting and teasing, echoing memories he thought he could bury. Faces flashed before his eyes, his parents, teachers, peers, each one a reminder of the opportunities he had squandered. "Timmy, do you really think courage will save you now?" The voice slithered through the darkness. It was cruel and familiar, sending a shiver down his spine. It was his own voice, twisted and mocking, each word a jagged shard of his self-doubt. The darkness started to lighten, revealing silhouettes suspended in mid-air, frozen at the exact moment Timmy had hesitated. Their expressions were a mix of disappointment and disbelief, as if they could sense the choice he never made, paths he could have walked but had instead abandoned. "Come on, Timmy. Just do it. You're stronger than this." A figure shouted. It was Aaron, but his friend's face was strained with effort, as if every word was a struggle. "Don't let them consume you." But the closer Timmy got to the figures, the more distorted they became. Linda, the girl from school, shifted away, her eyes filled with sorrow rather than friendship. "You chose the shadows over me," she whispered, and with that, she faded into the amorphous void, leaving only bitterness behind. "No!" he bellowed, desperate to hold on to the memories that defined him. "You are just fear. You can't tell me who I am." Yet, the opposing shadows only congealed tighter, as if they were responding to his despair. Timmy felt himself slipping further away from the light. Every moment he had left unresolved echoed painfully in his heart. Missed chances, abandoned dreams, a future fouled by inaction. That he fought against the despair, pulling the shards of light from deep within, focusing on the belief Aaron had instilled in him. "I am more," he shouted, charging forward, breaking through the grotesque figures surrounding him. The shadows flickered around him, writhing like snakes threatened by fire. Each pulse of light gnawed at the hollowness, illuminating pieces of his past he never wanted to confront. Faces shifted, merging between remembrance and regret. Then came the darkness he dreaded most, the sheer emptiness that occupied the space where hope used to dwell. As Timmy reached into this nothingness, he felt a spark ignite in his chest. It fluttered, warm and adamant, daring to take root in the depths of despair. Suddenly, light burst forth from his fingertips, a dazzling beacon slicing through the shade. The sound was like glass shattering, sharp and liberating. The pressure around him slackened, and he propelled himself forward, embracing the burn of possibility. But just as he felt the unyielding power growing within him, a laugh erupted from the shadows, rich with malice. "You really think a glimmer of light can stand against me?" The voice reverberated, morphing into a multitude of echoes, each taunting him about his past failures and future uncertainties. This was more than a fight against darkness, it was the very manifestation of his fears. Timmy pressed onward, heart racing, defiance pulsating through him. "I will not be defined by my mistakes. I will take my future back." And in that moment, the darkness loomed closer again, swirling ominously, waiting for his resolve to crack. The weight of every past choice materialized as a single mass, threatening to crush him under its relentless pressure. With a final bated breath, Timmy shouted, "I will not give in." But as the shadows closed in, overwhelming his new light, a chilling question echoed louder than before, curling into every corner of his being. But what if you do? The darkness surged, and as it enveloped him once more, Timmy realized he wasn't just fighting for himself, he was fighting for every version of himself he had ever forsaken. The stakes had never been higher. What lay ahead, freedom or despair, remained a gripping uncertainty. Timmy felt the shadows tighten, a suffocating embrace that crushed against his chest. It was as if he were being pulled into a whirlpool, spiraling deeper into the darkness. Panic gripped him, cold and debilitating, yet the flame he'd ignited within him flickered defiantly against the encroaching gloom. "Keep fighting," a distant voice urged, and as he squinted through the murk, Timmy could almost see Aaron pushing his way through the shadows, face etched with determination. His friend's presence was a lifeline, anchoring him in this turbulent sea of despair. In that pulse of clarity, Timmy remembered the feeling of courage, the warmth it brought, the hope. "I won to let you win," he shouted, letting sheer willpower fuel his voice. The shadows recoiled, almost startled by his defiance, but then, they surged forward, becoming a massive wall, pressing against him, mocking him. "You really think you're the hero here?" The familiar voice taunted, now stronger, more menacing. "Every time you chose to sit back, every commitment you broke, they've all led you here. You're just a coward." "No!" Timmy screamed, and this time, it was a cry of desperation mixed with rage. "You don't know me. You've twisted my thoughts for too long." As he stood firm, the shadows momentarily faltered, and it was in that heartbeat of uncertainty that Timmy felt another surge within. He pushed harder, unleashing the light from deep within him, willing it to burst forth like a supernova. Light erupted like fireworks, blinding, bursting through the tendrils of darkness. It was beautiful, filling the void with brilliant colors that painted the shadows in hues of white and gold. The echoes shrieked as the beams scattered the gloom. But the laughter returned, mocking and sinister. "Foolish boy, you can't outrun your own truths." The laughter transformed into a cacophony of agonized screams, voices of the past flooding back, memories he'd rather forget. "Look!" a female voice cried, unmistakably Linda's. "Look at what you let slip away." Timmy's heart turned heavy as her image materialized among the swirling darkness. She stood just beyond the light, her expression a mixture of sorrow and challenge. "You chose the easy path, Timmy. Now you face the consequences." The shadows attempted to reach for him again, but he ducked, diving deeper into the light until he could stand tall, pushing back with every ounce of hope. "You are not me. You're just a part of what I've left behind." For an instant, the brightness engulfed him, and Timmy felt weightless, no fear, only determination. But then reality snapped back as the darkness coiled tighter, its grip fierce. "Every step back," the voice rumbled, "is a step deeper into my embrace." Timmy fought against it, chest heaving. "I can't give in." And that's when he saw it, a glimmer of something new and powerful just out of reach, mirroring his own fierce heartbeat. Was it a path? A door? Hope materialized in a strange shape, beckoning him toward a confrontation he could not yet understand. But before he could grasp it, the shadows surged once more, and panic flooded his veins. Timmy realized the true horror. The further he ventured into this fight, the harder it became to distinguish between the shadows and his own fractured self. Weariness washed over him, and as he faced the darkness, he whispered a question that felt perilous: "Is any of this real, or just another illusion of my mind?" With a crack, the air chilled, and Timmy knew the next moment would either break him or unlock a power he had only begun to grasp. What if the shadows were not just a manifestation of his fears, but a twisted reflection of the choices he had yet to confront? As his heart raced with this realization, a chilling thought settled deep: could the answer be worse than the horror that surrounded him? Timmy's heart pounded like a war drum, each thud echoing in the treacherous darkness. He felt himself pulled closer to the void that whispered sweet promises of oblivion. The shadows writhed, swirling mockingly around him, holding the weight of every decision he avoided. But now, something fundamental shifted inside him. Clarity washed over him, igniting a fire that he had thought extinguished forever. Enough! He roared, his voice a defiant blast against the swarm of nightmares. I will not be defined by you. The shadows recoiled, momentarily startled by his sudden resolve. He felt the light inside him grow stronger, breaking through the suffocating haze. This time, he wouldn't let them drown him in despair. This time, he would fight back. Timmy! Aaron's voice rang out, clearer than before, infusing him with strength. Find your will. Choose to rise. The glow pulsed with each heartbeat, illuminating the dark stage he found himself on. I can change. He declared to the swirling mass of shame and regret. I choose to embrace my future. As he stepped forward, the tendrils of darkness tried to wrap around his legs, dragging him back into the abyss, but he would not yield. Fueled by an unexpected surge of hope, Timmy focused on every moment he could still grab hold of every friend, every dream he had pushed aside while he let laziness take the lead. No more. The words surged from his lips like a shield, driving away the encroaching darkness. The shadows shrieked, their forms twisting and distorting in desperation as they came under the onslaught of his fierce assertion. He stood tall, feeling the warmth of hope radiate from deep within him, becoming a blazing beacon that cut through the gray fog. With one final push, he thrust his arms forward, unleashing the bright light that had been holding back for so long. It flooded the room, illuminating every crevice, piercing through the very essence of his fears. The shadows howled, their forms collapsing into wisps of smoke, and as they were driven back, pieces of his past began to unravel and scatter like fallen leaves. Suddenly, there was silence. It felt surreal, like waking from a bad dream, but Timmy knew that he could not linger. He felt the pull of the shadows session behind him, but this time, they were no longer threatening. Instead, they began to dissolve into something unrecognizable, something lighter. Timmy took a deep breath, letting go of the fear that had been suffocating him for so long. With each exhale, he felt lighter, transformed. As the air shifted around him, he caught sight of the door to his past, once ajar, now wide open, revealing a landscape filled with bright possibilities. His old fears turned into nothing more than memories, neither alive nor possessing the power to overtake him. I am not finished yet, he said firmly, turning on his heel and stepping toward the door, heart racing with the thrill of newfound purpose. He had tasted despair, had danced with shadows, but now, he would choose action. With courage swelling in his throat, he stepped through the door, and the world exploded into color around him. Timmy found himself back in his room. But this time, it felt different. Sunlight streamed through the window, and the heavy air had lifted, replaced with a fresh breeze filled with promise. He looked around, heart pounding with excitement. All those hours he had wasted, the games he played, it was time to reclaim them if he used them wisely. He could change his story starting today. Mom called upstairs and he called back, determination ringing in his voice. Everything he had learned, every moment he had wrestled with his own darkness, had brought him to this moment an opportunity for growth. Timmy. Aaron's voice echoed through the door. You okay, man? With a deep breath, Timmy opened the door, finding his friend waiting with concern etched on his face. I'm better than okay, he replied, a smile breaking across his face, illuminating the remnants of night. I'm ready to tackle life. As they walked together into the sunlight, the past began to settle into a new plan for the future. Timmy realized then that courage was not a single act but a series of choices he would make every day from now on, moments that would define his new story, and as they headed off together, Timmy understood his journey was just beginning. The shadows had shown him his fears, but it was the light that would now guide him forward. Now, my friends, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and uplift you. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help this community grow. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this ending and what you think awaits Timmy on his next adventures, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. Together, let's keep the light shining bright.